That's literally what happened whenever we recorded with Sloan. I clicked record, it gave me the option. I never saw the option, thought it was recording.
Oops.
Well, we're live. All right. Huh. Another good little airport background.
I was like, I don't know if you can hear that feedback or not, but I might have to mute a couple times.
Okay.
Okay. You could just unmute when you talk. That's what I usually do.
I'm just gonna do that.
All right, I'll hit the intro here in a second. All right, good. All right, everybody, good evening. Welcome back to R2 Podcast. This is your host, Alex, filling in for your usual podcast voice, Connor Fairweather, although he is here with us tonight.
Yeah, I'm still here.
And your boy, Sean Roberts,
Also still here.
President. And our two special guests tonight. So we have Dr. Amr Cat and Cat Roddy, both from SCU. So without further ado, I'm going to let them kind of give an intro for themselves. Whoever wants to go first, take it over.
Yeah, so I'll go first. I'm Kat. I grew up in Northern California, so just want to give a little shout out to Palmer West. Sad about that. But I decided to move down to Southern California to do my undergrad at Cal State Long Beach. So I was doing my undergrad there. I started in exercise science. When I was in my third year, I actually decided to switch over to sports psych. And that was probably one of the best decisions I've ever made, honestly, especially with like chronic pain and stuff like that. And at the time, I was currently thinking I really wanted to go this PT route. And I was working at a softball training facility doing young softball girls training. And there was a chiro actually that was in the batting cage while I was like yelling at people. So it was probably super annoying for him, but it was really cool for me because I got to see like how a chiro kind of works. I had really known very little about chiros. I had known Amr, but I didn't really see it happening. So I was at this PT mill, absolutely hated it. I was lucky enough to have Dr. Edgar Rodriguez, who actually was one of like Craig Liebenson's kind of, I guess, people who actually ended up starting R2P at SCU. So one of my huge mentors was an R2P starter creator of SCU. So that was really cool for me. So I asked him if I could just shadow him a couple times. And it was probably one of the best decisions I made. Ended up applying to chiro school like a week later because I was really impulsive in undergrad. So I got in, and then the rest is really just history for me.
Yeah, I'd say the impulses worked out in your favor.
Oh, definitely. I think I'm right where I want to be and right where I should be. I'm glad I didn't go that like PT route. So
yeah, absolutely. And what try are you in at SCU? And then kind of how you found R2P.
Yeah, so I'm a 8 out of 12. So SCU has a little bit differently than a lot of other chiro schools, I think, do. We have a 12-track program, which is your typical 4 years. And then we have a 10-track program, which is going to be 3.3. So that's like the average program that most schools kind of go through. We do the trimester type system. So we go fall, summer, spring. And I decided to do the 12-track because I was working at the time, and then COVID kind of hit. So I started in May 2020 and didn't have a job. It was doing 12-track. So life was a little bit boring for a little bit. But I always kind of knew that I wanted to go into R2P, just being surrounded by Amr and then having Edgar Rodriguez as a mentor. So I just like knew right away it was a club that I really wanted to get involved in. But it was really hard at first just because everything was shut down, everything was virtual. So very little people were showing up to meetings. I'm sure Amr was gonna touch on that a little bit. But yeah, it was a struggle at first. So I'm really glad that we are where we are now. And our journey has been absolutely incredible to get here. So
Yeah, that's awesome. And the last time we talked with, or at least the last time I talked to Amr, he was not a doc yet. So Doc, introduce yourself to the people.
Hello. I'm a doc after, I guess, starting this week, technically. Just literally passed my jurisprudence exam. But my name's Amr. I am originally actually from Iowa. I started, I guess, my way to like how I became a chiro is not intentional, to be honest. I started playing like soccer growing up, and then through injuries, I just wanted to become a trainer to kind of like learn how to prevent it from happening, and then assist also kind of in the strength and conditioning side of things. And then from there, I just started getting more injuries and wanted to learn more. Can you guys hear that? Great.
Little airport background.
Yeah, right. But from there, I started powerlifting, and through powerlifting becomes more injuries. So from there, I wanted to just rehab it and then learn how to like not get injured while training. And that kind of led me down to the chiropractic route. I ended up getting like a master's degree in sport and exercise psychology, just because I didn't know what to do after undergrad, just like kind of like a buy-in period. And then from there, I interned in different areas in both chiropractic and PT. And honestly, like I was so turned off by chiropractic initially, just because like it was kind of like a mill. It was just more so everyone that got in had like a number, kind of like you're in a meat market. And so like people would just come in, and then they would adjust like 60, 70 people in the morning. So after that point, I actually turned to PT, and my first exposure to PT, it was the same thing. It's just like a mill. So I was like, all right, let me try chiro again and see maybe somewhere different. And luckily I found like a doc that was like a little bit more ART, which kind of actually helped me because of competing in powerlifting. And so that was a big help to me. So I was like, maybe some docs are different. From there, I just decided to go to SCU. I honestly don't know why I didn't go to Logan. It's kind of funny, but because I was in St. Louis at the time. Yeah. But yeah, I know, right? But from there, I think the biggest impact for me was R2P, and I think I initially found it just like at one of those like club fairs that we typically have. And then one of like the students in my cohort, who was actually a past NSEB, Jared, you probably know him.
Yeah.
He was like trying to go to it. So I was like, maybe I should go too. And then that ended up turning down like a major milestone in terms of like turning me onto things that I would have never thought I could have like done in terms of like treatments and rehab and that sort of thing. So
yeah, awesome, man. All right, Connor.
yeah, I'm gonna mute now.
Okay, so my question for both you is, what's your relationship with R2P? How'd you get into it? How are you connected with it? What has it done for you? And what have you done for it? And so, I mean, either one of you can take that. Maybe Catherine, you want to go first?
yeah, so I'll go first. R2P, the reason I started getting way more involved in R2P is because we started to kind of crash, to be completely honest. Like there was very, very few people actually going to meetings. And I knew that someone just needed to step up. And I thought it was really important to actually keep this club alive, just not only for myself, but to create better clinicians overall. That's like something that's going to be really, or has been really, really important for me, because I was lucky enough to not have to go through like a chiro mill or have to go through your typical chiro where you're just getting adjusted. I was lucky enough to have E-Rod. So I was able to see what chiros were capable of and how we could actually treat. And it was something that I felt I needed to share with people at SCU, because I think a lot of the times when you are on virtual calls for so long, you kind of get discouraged and you don't really want to do anything outside because you're not getting really that social interaction. So right when school started and we slowly are coming back, we're still not fully back on campus, but it just became really important for me to actually lead meetings and get more people involved and get our name out there as a collective. So I think that everyone should be involved in R2P, even if it's not really like their thing. I think there's still stuff that they can learn from us that can be beneficial, because we're such a huge club that uses almost everything, right? So that's just a little bit about how I got involved in it.
I guess I kind of got involved because early on, I figured honestly that there's going to be gaps in education. Coming from a background in kinesiology and both in like undergrad and grad school, it never prepared me to become a personal trainer. Like there's so many gaps in education, and I figured that chiro school was going to be the same thing, which it ended up being. And so I wanted to kind of learn how to bridge the gap in terms of just having like the patient in front of you with that diagnosis to actually like learning how to treat it, because that's the biggest impact I think that we're missing. And so that kind of really provided me that opportunity. I think R2P really bridged the gap in terms of that, also with learning the different techniques that you're not really exposed to in school. And so those techniques can have a huge impact into the patient in terms of getting them quicker, like whether it is pain relief or changing function in the long run of things. I think we're like literally the only club that can have this profound impact, along with like obviously some of the other MPI and things like that. So, but something that really like we did struggle is during COVID. And during that time, it was we tried to do online meetings, which really sucked. But I think we've kind of like transformed that, and people now can see how big of an impact the rehab comes. And I think honestly now we're one of the like the biggest clubs on campus.
It's awesome. Love to see it, man. That's what happens. You have leaders like you guys step up and make sure that one, it doesn't fizzle out, but like even take it to new heights. So kudos to you guys.
Yeah, you just need like annoying leaders. I probably annoyed Amr so many times, just being like, we need to get this out. We need to like do this. Social media. Let's go.
That's it.
It's the persistence. I think at Logan we had the same issues. Because I started at the same time that you did, Kat, at Logan. So everything was dead. I mean, there were online things happening, but you were sitting on Zoom or on recorded lectures for hours on end. And the last thing you wanted to do it during your lunch break was to then sit on another Zoom. And I think a lot of students felt that way. So as things started to move back in person, I think it was quicker at some schools than others. I think SCU was pretty late to that getting back in person game. But with that being said, I think that we learned a lot during that time about what works and what doesn't, what people are interested in and what they aren't. Because we hit kind of the same topics for months on end until realizing that people want less lecture, people want more hands-on. So since we lost so much time of hands-on, we've been hitting that harder, at least at Logan, and the team there is doing really well. So my question is a little bit outside of direct club interactions, day-to-day activities, and more like the broader scope of R2P kind of in your community. So I know at least like in the Midwest, I hear about this a lot because this is where I'm at. Mentor wise, we have a lot of big names that kind of keep coming around our area. You have Brett Winchester, you have Rich Olm, you have Bo Beard, you have a lot of other people that consistently kind of live in our zone out here. And then we got to luckily talk to Philip Snell up in Connor's neck of the woods. how about SCU? Who is like your big mentors that are down in Southern California, and whose brains do you get to pick?
Yeah, that's a good question. So we are lucky enough to have Dr. Sebastian Gonzalez, who is like PPR doctor. So that's our kind of intern doctor that we go to when we are approaching clinic and in clinic. We also have Dr. Edgar Rodriguez, who's the one that I was lucky enough to be working with. And we have Donald Mole out in San Diego, who is also an old R2P leader. So it's kind of funny because we get like a lot of R2P people who just kind of go out. Those are all people who have been really, really good mentors to us and the club in general. And they all have their own unique styles, which also makes it pretty cool because we get to kind of see a little bit different perspectives on each thing. Like Dr. Sebastian Gonzalez is more of a spine guy, so he gets a lot of spine cases. And then we have like Edgar Rodriguez, who works with a lot of athletes. So it's just super cool. Now we're lucky enough to have Dr. Amr Matwali join the group on that one.
Amr, who did you spend a lot of your time with?
Yeah, I don't think I'm there yet with that group, but I would say Sebastian Gonzalez was kind of my PPR doc for the entire time, and I interned before that. So he was probably the biggest impact in terms of that, and following kind of similar protocols that we kind of align with R2P. I would say he's probably the biggest impact in terms of how I see myself in terms of diagnosis, treatment, that sort of thing. We didn't really like connect with some of the other ones that like, or excuse me, it was kind of late in the game before connecting with like some of the other ones that I didn't even know was like around, honestly. So like recently we literally just connected with like Dr. Mole. And so that was like something that I wish kind of had earlier on. But I do think that is something that we do have in terms of lackingness, is like we don't have probably nearly as many practitioners that are kind of like in that R2P scope compared to like some other areas of the nation. But yeah.
So I guess who mainly, if you guys want to go to seminars, courses, and stuff like that, who are the names that you typically look for that do hang out in Southern California, or do you have to travel?
I mean, like in San Diego, if we're gonna go like a DNS course, then yeah, we're gonna definitely go. What's the name?
Rentala.
Yeah, Rentala. Can't believe I forgot, but like Rentala is gonna be the big one there. Like here in LA, we obviously have Craig Liebenson, and then also Justin Dean. If we're gonna go like up north, definitely gonna obviously go to Portland and look for Snell.
We still will make that travel though to
Yeah.
the farm.
Catherine, did you
Yeah.
message me about coming to DNS 3?
Yeah, we're going to DNS 3, and then I'm going to neurodynamics with Maxwell. So we've
In April?
yeah, we typically do travel around a lot.
I feel like,
Yeah.
I feel like Cat and Amr are not scared to travel. Like
Send me a message after this. I got something for you for aerodynamics.
Perfect.
Yeah, I've been to Canada a few times.
Have you guys done anything with Dr. Dean?
I
He's-
have personally not. I know a few people who have previously done stuff with Dean, but I should probably reach out to him.
Yeah, he's someone that we've had for like just our in-person R2P meetings before COVID. But that kind of obviously we need to start that up again. So I think
Yeah.
he'll be a good contact like going forward for sure.
I mean, I did a couple neurocentric approaches with him, and he's just like, he's taken every course so many times. He goes down to the Dominican Republic now, and something. I think he goes down to the Dominican Republic and learns from a guy named Guy Voyer's, like a osteopath there or something who created Eldoa. That guy.
Yes. Yeah. So we have someone on eBoard actually who does Eldoa. We're gonna have him do a meeting on that this term just to get more people involved. I'm not familiar with it at all, so it's gonna be really cool for me. But yeah, we also have someone, or we have a local gym here that is like the guy who constantly teaches Eldo courses. So probably should hop on one of those soon too.
Oh. Can you hear me?
We can hear you now.
Okay. Kat, what are your plans for this quarter? What's the plan with R2P, or this trimester, I should say? What do you hope to do with the club? What's your big vision?
So my total goal right now is just to get younger tries involved. So my goal as president is to just familiarize people with the principles of R2P, because me coming in, it was kind of just like handed down to me, not really, but it was, if I didn't have Amr, I would have been screwed. So I was really lucky in that sense where I had Amr. But going to the rep retreat, I was able to see like all these different principles. So it was really cool for me. So now my goal is just educating the rest of my e-board on the principles, getting them all up to date. A lot of us are transitioning into clinic. So it's getting younger people more involved is a huge goal for me. And I think it really should be easy because there's so many benefits that come along with being an R2P rep. But that is huge on my list. And then also we kind of put ourselves into a hole in a sense where we talk about how we're like, all we do is rehab, active care. Like we're the only active care club on campus. That's like our pitch, right? But it's so much more than that. We have so many different tools that we can use. And I think slowly kind of getting away from that model of you don't have to just do active care. We can be adjusting, we can be doing soft tissue, we can be doing all these other things is really important for me. We can't dry needle in California, but that's just one thing we can't do. But just kind of creating that network of clinicians around us that I can refer people out to, and that they'll be able to go and shadow. And then getting more meetings on campus is going to be huge for us. Collabing with MPI, we have one of those planned coming up soon. And then overall, just letting people know what certain systems are. We don't touch, or I'm not touching too much on like Mackenzie's this term, just because we have a class that goes over in Mackenzie's. So I don't have to touch on some of that stuff as much unless I'm kind of bringing it up and passing to some of the younger term students. But yeah,
how do you hope to get younger quarter students involved? We just had our club fair, and we had to talk about why people should show up to our club, and our club is at the same time as the ever popular adjusting club. And so we ended up just getting another day during the week to present, so that people actually have the opportunity to show up, because I mean, a lot of people don't want to give up their adjusting practice to come learn rehab, which is fair enough. But at the same time, people or Q1s, it's hard to pay attention to an hour-long lecture and hands-on practice of something like Mackenzie or neurodynamics when they've never had a patient with, a problem that it pertains to, right? It's really hard for them to buy into those sort of things because they're just not there yet. And it's not always easy for them to understand that, they're only 3 years away from being in a clinic actually treating people, and they need to start practicing now. So yeah, what's your plan? How do you plan on getting people through the door on Zoom, whatever medium you're presenting through, and getting them engaged?
So what I do at SU is I just crash those meetings and then I just take them all. I say, come, no, I'm just kidding. I don't do that. But I say, why are you guys here? But for us, we're kind of lucky. So we put MPI on Wednesdays and then R2Ps on Fridays for us. So we kind of split up the days a little bit. I know that there's other adjusting clubs on campus. Those ones, I mean, they kind of have their meetings when they have their meetings for us, but our main thing was just telling students that we're going to learn X, Y, Z from our classes, but we're not going to learn how to put X, Y, Z together. So that's just been a huge way to kind of get younger students in. It's just, if you get exposed to this early on, when you reach those classes that you have, you're going to be far ahead of all your peers, because you're going to see it and you're going to see upper quarters doing it. And you're going to actually know how to apply it and know when it might be useful and when it might not be useful, because we're not really taught that in school. We're not taught like, we're taught like, oh, if it's short, lengthen it, right? If it's long, strengthen it. But that's sometimes not always the case. And I think it's just opening their minds to that and just giving them the opportunity to ask you questions and just being open-minded to answering any questions that they might have.
Yeah, I think it's good. I know Logan has typically had like MPI and R2P kind of the bigger clubs, but I know as we start new clubs, like the one just in Minnesota started, like trying to sell this style of care to somebody that went to a chiro that was rack and crack can be kind of tough, because it's like, why bother? Like I can care half as much and make twice as much as you guys, and they didn't come to school, they don't think in their mind, for PT, which air quotes is a lot different than what we do. So I guess that kind of, as you were answering these questions, it kind of formulated a question in my mind is, I'm not super aware with SCU's quote unquote philosophy or style. So we know different schools like UWS, where Connor's at, tends to be more evidence-based. Logan claims they are, and that's up for debate. But with SCU, in my mind, I feel like you guys are pretty, like the people I've talked to seem to be more in our world. Is that true, or am I mistaken? I guess I'll ask Amr now that you have a little bit of hindsight on the situation.
Honestly, I would say we're like really evidence-based on kind of that spectrum. But we do have like kind of our fair share of professors that are and are not. But something that kind of leads us into more of that evidence-based is our sports medicine program. And so we have a lot of practitioners who are diplomats, and we have like our clinic, which you can get in the sports medicine program, but they really hone down the diagnosis and proper assessment. And so that is going to, like, everything in terms of the assessment and diagnosis is very specific and detailed. And so I would say we're kind of like more down that path, depending on whether or not you go down that path or not, because you have the option once you go to clinic, if you want to be in the sports medicine clinic, or if you want to just be in that regular adjusting type clinic, which is not as detailed. They don't like go into detail of diagnosis or assessment and that sort of thing. So you do have the option, but I would say overall, in terms of the coursework, we have a lot of good professors in terms of once we get to that assessment and diagnosis piece, but not so much rehab. I'll say that.
Hey man, I'd take what you have over what we have, so sounds pretty good.
Yeah, I think we only have one philosophy class, so it's really just kind of like, oh,
We've got 3.
here's boards, and we're like, well.
Yeah, we don't even like learn Gonstead like listings. So when I got my boards, I was like, I had no idea what it was.
Well, the crazy thing is that we have, 3 times, we have way more philosophy in our curriculum at Logan, but we still didn't learn concept listings.
Oh, that's
Oh,
weird.
not at all.
We still had
It's
to
kind of
learn.
embarrassing. It's like that was like my highest test score on
Yeah.
any board exam. I think I'm destined.
That's awesome.
Oh man.
Yeah, you went the wrong way. Wrong fork in the road.
Apparently.
Learned it too well. All right, Amr, I got some more for you. So obviously I know I'm assuming you just recently got your license from what we were talking about earlier. So it's pretty early, but what is practice already looking like for you? What you kind of expect and hope for it to look like in the next few months, as far as like, specifics of, how long your appointments are going to be, and the kind of population you'd like to see and things like that.
Okay, so I'm gonna hold on for 1 second.
Sean can work his magic later. Don't worry.
Isn't it? Okay, so I currently am at a clinic in Long Beach, California, and we are not the typical chiro clinic. We're kind of like more similar to the mindset of R2P. And so we have initial sessions, which are 60 minutes in duration. So it's plenty of time to get, obviously, all the quality information and quality treatment in terms of that. And then our follow-ups are gearing about 45 minutes. The type of 45 minutes.
Nice.
So pretty solid in terms of like the amount of duration. We do have like a lot of equipment too in terms of like strength conditioning and that sort of thing. But we also offer like a lot of like additional like modality type stuff like soft tissue and Normatec and Theragun and that sort of thing. Hypervolt, sorry. But currently our population is going to be like mainly more active individuals.
Yeah.
And so that's going to be the population that we try to help out. So we're connected to a gym nearby, which a lot of them do kind of more of I'll say like more like Spartan race and like different sort of like races like that.
Mhm.
And so we're well connected in there. And so we have a lot of probably patients that are going to come from there, but also that's not it. But just populations that are a little bit more active, I'd say.
Yeah.
Going forward, I think I would like to have more within the realm of like powerlifting personally, if that like is something that I could do. So working out at different powerlifting gyms, but also working different marketing events in terms of powerlifting competitions. I'd love to kind of like gear into a little bit more of that going forward.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. I'm sure you have plenty of guys out there that you can chat with about getting involved with those kinds of treating that kind of population. Interestingly enough, I don't know if Corey really expected it whenever he got out to Myrtle Beach, but I know he's been treating a lot of powerlifters out there. Not like it's kind of two ends of the spectrum, right? Like you had the elderly population and then a bunch of powerlifters. I forget how he got involved with that, but I know he was treating a bunch of them. So
I'm probably gonna have to ask him about that. Yeah, because I'd love to kind of like dive into like how to get kind of involved in that, but also like how treatment varies, obviously, with competition and that sort of thing.
Yeah, for sure. And then long term, you plan on staying like in that area? Are you looking like world is your oyster wherever you want to go, or? Oh man, I'm sorry, Sean. You got some major
I've got
work.
my work. I've got my work cut out for me.
Yeah, I've like moved like 3 times already. So in terms of long term, definitely I think once you go to California and you live there, you gotta stay. You can't go. So probably gonna stay in California. I can't like once you live by the beach,
Sure.
and then you go back to the Midwest, you're like, what are you doing?
Yeah, that's a good point. Iowa compared.
Yeah, exactly.
California is like 2 different states though, because there's Northern California
Yeah.
and Southern California.
Northern California is barely California. It's like
Don't tell them that.
Animosity. All right, well, guys, it's time for our infamous maybe rapid fire question section. So we're gonna each pick a rapid fire question for you, and obviously the goal, answer it as quickly as possible with some thought, right? Okay, so first question: what would you be if you were not a chiropractor? Professional.
Physical therapist, for sure.
Okay.
yeah, physical therapist.
All right. Same scope, slightly different name for an adjustment, and guess you have to have
or or just a personal trainer.
A
don't know.
glorified-
Okay, it can't be in the health and
Or
fitness realm,
like a-
guys.
Can't be what?
Yeah, it can't be in the health and fitness realm.
Corporate
got
wellness.
Corporate wellness.
I'll be an
Yes.
FBI agent.
Oh, okay.
Oh, no, that sounds cool.
Be like a barber or something.
Yeah.
Barber.
I
That's
feel like I could see Cat being.
I'm just looking at your fresh cut. I'm like, you could be.
fresh cut.
I don't know. You got the fade going on and the
It's like a week old. I guess that's fresh. That's like old for me.
still fresh.
So fresh.
That
It's fresh on
$50
a student
haircut.
budget.
It is.
True that.
All right. All right. Next question. Who we got?
John? No, you want me to go or?
You go.
Okay, let me pick one here. What's your favorite piece of advice you've been given?
I have a favorite piece of advice that I've given.
You've been
you-
given. So
Been
favorite
given,
advice someone
okay.
has given you.
Um,
And then also if you're quick enough, you can follow it up with your favorite piece of advice to give, say like a first quarter student.
I guess like grades don't really matter, which is big because they don't. They just don't.
Right. Right.
Someone gave you that advice?
Yeah, people give me it all the time.
I feel like that's reciprocal. Like, give it, you give it. Like,
I'd say mine is the magic is at end range. Talking about Mackenzie, of course.
yeah.
Okay.
Okay, maybe don't be a Mackenzie rookie.
Oh yeah, I like that one too.
Because sometimes we won't give enough reps, and then
Yeah.
Dr. Gonzalez will just be like, "Don't be a Mackenzie rookie," and then
You called me a rookie a few times.
400, 500 reps.
instability later.
Yeah. If your tricep doesn't pop off, you haven't done enough press ups.
Later. Yeah.
Right. All right. Since you guys have traveled the world looking in your search for knowledge and seminars, what's your favorite seminar you have attended? What have you gained the most from?
That's so hard. Something that I use every day. Shit. Can I give like top 3 maybe?
We'll allow it.
Okay. I'd say neurodynamics for sure. DNS B/strength training 2, which is kind of combined, and then McGill method seminar, which is like the level 1 through 3 or whatever.
Nice. Cap.
I would probably say DNS A, well, all the DNSs, because I think I kind of went in with low expectations, because you hear like baby crawling and you're just like, I don't know what this is. So yeah, I'll go DNS has been the biggest impact.
Yeah. Good deal. Awesome. Well, guys, it's been great chatting. Appreciate you joining us tonight, giving us more insights about like what R2P is about on the West Coast. For those of us who have never been, we've only had the pleasure of seeing you at seminars, and I'm looking forward to for sure seeing you around all the R2P symposiums, seminars, whatnot. I'll come visit California at some point too. So a lot of cool people shadow, and you guys will be out there practicing soon. Well, Amr already is. So, all right. Any closing comments from anybody?
No, just make sure you know who we are. That one.
There you go.
How about this? Where can they find you?
Yeah.
So you guys can find me on Instagram. So it's gonna be my full first name, which is Catherine, which I don't usually go by unless I'm in trouble. That's gonna be with a CATHERINE.
That's why I called you Catherine earlier.
I know, I thought I was getting yelled at. And then my last name, which is Rotti, ROTTI.
Doc?
Doc Amr?
You can find me at the Quad Doc.
Yeah.
A little backstory in that, but I was like just messing around. And a lot of people like kind of like that name, so
Yeah.
It's a good one.
figured.
I'm looking at your page right now, and I can guess why they call you the Quad Doc.
Not as big as mine, but yeah.
Jeez Louise.
Jeez Louise.
Guys, well, I appreciate it. We really enjoyed having you on tonight, and best of luck in your trimester. Let's try Cat and out in the real world, Doc. So we will catch you guys later.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
you
It was a
guys having me.
pleasure.
Nice meeting you.